Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to have a gin tasting with Indlovu Gin and going live in about 40 seconds.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to a beautiful sunny day in Hoedspruit, South Africa. We're glad you could join us. So today's going to be it's a first for us, and it's going to be quite interesting for everybody to learn a bit more about JabuGin and Indlovu Gin and the great work that they do. So I'd like to introduce you to Paula and Les. So Paula and Les are the founders, the creators, the owners of Indlovu Gin and then the famous JabuGin. So they're going to be taking over for our presentation, and we've got you'll see a familiar face, Tiger. Will also be joining us. Even though he doesn't do gin, he does do elephants, so he's going to teach us everything about the elephants. So enjoy, and then we'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you very much, Jabulani, for inviting us up here. And we're very excited to do this. It's a first for us as well. So I think to start with, it would be quite useful for us to just explain how we got to where we are, and why we started making the Indlovu Gin and then the JabuGin. So Paula and I, we were researchers in the United Kingdom for 17 years, and then about 4 years ago we had the opportunity to move back to South Africa, and we just felt that there was opportunity here, opportunity to do something both commercially but also to be able to give back to society in some way. And we moved the family back here, brought our kids over, and shortly after we arrived, Paula went to Kenya and met up with her mom, and they went on a safari and enjoyed the usual safari gin by the waterhole, watching the elephants in the evenings. And after that safari, Paula came back to South Africa, and we took our kids on their first ever safari in the bushveld. And it was while we were there, and we went on a walking safari with one of the guides, and he was talking about elephants and what amazing creatures they are, how they are the bush clearers of the veld. And their sole role really is just to clear stuff, to make it less cluttered. And in order to achieve this, they have a specialized digestive system, in that they eat huge amounts each day, but they have such poor gut absorption that most of the food that they eat, the amazing berries and fruits and leaves and grasses, is just left on the veld floor. And so this started percolating, I think, in Paula's mind. And then about, I don't know, it must have been 3 or 4 weeks later, I get a sharp elbow in my back at about 6:30 in the morning, and Paula says, "Les, I've had an idea. Do you think we could make elephant dung gin?" And really, that was the start of this amazing journey that we have been on. And it's been a steep learning curve, and we've had such a lot of fun and met such amazing people. But of course, the first thing we needed to do before we made gin was learn about gin and learn how we could take the elephant dung, or see if we could take the elephant dung and turn it into a gin. And so we contacted the game reserve we were at, and this is what I love about South Africa. We just called them up and said, do you mind sending us some elephant dung? And they said, sure, no problem. How would you like us to mail it to you? And you know, coming from the UK, you can't imagine calling up Whipsnade Animal Farm and saying, please send us some of your elephant dung. It would just never happen.
And Royal Mail.
Yeah, sent in Royal Mail. But it did. It arrived, couriered to our door. Paula signed for elephant dung. And in fact, the biggest concern from the game reserve side, what Lescop, was what to label on the outside, because they felt they couldn't just put elephant dung as a content. And so Paula suggested,
Said grassy material,
yes,
which was perfect. And it arrived, and I think it must be the only people in the world who've had couriered elephant dung to their doorstep.
So we had this elephant dung, and then the next step was how to process it. So we needed to clean it and wash it, clean it, and then dry it. And so we went through various iterations of the best way to clean the elephant dung and cleanse it. And finally we ended up with an amazing botanical. And this is it. And you can see you get whole leaves and grasses in here. And very often you'll actually come across petals that have been and berries that have just come through, and they're not digested at all. They're just left on the felt floor. So it's amazing botanical, really. And we had this we got to this stage, and then we thought, well, okay, we've got here, but now who's going to be crazy enough to help us? Who on earth could we approach to talk to about making elephant dung gin? Because our background, of course, was not in gin at all. And a friend of ours said, look, why don't you speak to Roger Jorgensen? He's a funky guy, and he loves these weird, crazy ideas, and he is a grandmaster of gin. And Paula eventually
Plucked up the courage with a friend. I kept looking at it on the side, thinking it was a good idea, but still thinking they would think that something had happened to me in the early years, that why I would come up with such an idea. And a friend of mine came with me and held my hand. We went to see Roger, and as soon as I met Roger, I knew he was the right person to speak to. He's very relaxed, he's brilliant, he's great fun. And we sat down, and I told him in an email, I've got something unusual to bring to you, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I thought, I don't want to kill the relationship dead before I even get there. And we turned up, and then Roger took some of the dung, quite literally took it, and he smelt it, and then he tasted it. And by this point I was like, oh my goodness, what's he going to actually say when I tell him what it is? So he said, yeah, you can definitely make gin with it. What a wonderful material, what is it? And I went, well, it's dried and sanitized elephant dung. And his face just lit up. And he just said, I love it, absolutely love it. It's going to turn gin industry on its head. Most innovative idea I've heard of. I will help you from now to the shelf. And he really has. He's been our mentor the whole way along the line. We now often look at the two gins now. We have Jabu and the Indlovu Gin. And it's taken us such an amazing journey, it really has. Yeah. And we've had a lot of interest in the gin globally. New York, America, Japan, all around the world. It's really captured people's imagination, sheds light on elephant conservation, and hopefully with the JabuGin. Yeah.
So with Roger's help, he helped us design an amazing gin, and one of the things he said is, you're making gin from elephant dung. You cannot make a bad gin, because he said it's just not going to work. So
put other words in there.
and so he really is a craftsman, and he helped us with our recipe, and we ended up with a beautiful gin, and then we realized, actually, so making gin is one thing, but selling the gin or getting people to buy into our vision is something completely different. And after the first batch we made, we had a 1,000 odd bottles, and we're looking at them thinking,
who's going to buy that?
yeah, what have we done? Unfortunately, Roger said, look, the first thing is to get it out there. So he gave us the name of a gin blogger, Sarita, and he said she is honest. So she will tell you if she doesn't like it and tell you if she does like it. And he said, just give it to her and run with it. And so that's what we did. We hesitantly handed her a bottle of our gin, and we said, please, Sarita, could you review our gin for us? And this was Christmas time, and she took it, and we nervously waited. And a few weeks later, we got a call from her, and she said, I love your gin. I love the presentation of it, and my blog is coming out in just before Christmas, and you can read it. And she did. I mean, she was wonderful, and I think that was a watershed moment, because it's one of those paths, and we're thinking, if she doesn't like it and it doesn't sell, that's it. That, you know, that idea is canned. And so it gave us the momentum and the encouragement to move on. And then we were entered in the South African Gin Awards a bit later that year, and we achieved a double gold for that. And then that, again, is just
that was one of the most emotional awards, I think, ever. We got a few in science. So when we went to the South African Craft Gin Awards, and we weren't told what we'd won or if we'd won, but we went along. And then I think it was 16 out of 180 or something. And when they told us, oh, the emotion, I've never been emotional particularly about getting an award or something you've worked for, but this was just, oh, I didn't know what to do with myself. And then we have given the certificates, and if you look on the front of Die Burger, is that how you pronounce it, magazine, there's one person in all the awards going like this, and that's me. Because I was so delighted, and someone said, hold your award up. They were talking to somebody else who was down here, and I got rather enthusiastic, so you see just one person going like this. So it has been an amazing journey, it really has.
But and so we achieved through that, we really achieved one part of the reason coming back to South Africa. So we've achieved that opportunity for commercial or the commercial opportunity, but we were very passionate about wanting to be able to give back into the society, and so we decided that 15% of our profits we were going to donate to wildlife conservation. And we're absolutely delighted that to have joined up with Jabulani, and we used our recipe really for our Indlovu Gin, and we've created for Jabulani their very own JabuGin, which is made from the elephant dung from the elephants on Jabulani. And the Jabulani supports HERD, which is Hoedspruit Elephant Rehabilitation Center, and it is the first elephant orphanage in South Africa, and they look after these elephants amazingly well. And it's an absolute privilege to be able to work with them in their animal conservation and their elephant conservation work. And that really is the story of how we developed the gin, how we got to where we are now. And we've met amazing people, and just yesterday we had the absolute privilege of meeting Tiger, and because Tiger has the most incredible job in the world. We thought we were lucky with ours, but he gets to spend every day with these most amazing creatures in the elephant orphanage, and he's told us some awesome stories that he's had with the elephants over his time with them. And I'm just going to hand you over, because I know he's going to regale you with those stories now.
Well, cool. Here we are. All right, folks. It is quite interesting to see people coming up with amazing ideas. Ideas that one could ever thought of. Like from elephant dung, elephant gin. It's like wow. So, but if you take a look at elephants themselves, they are just animals. But if you sit down, think quite deep about what they are, you see that they are quite productive animals in terms of our it involved elephants. So the animals are quite important in our lives, everybody's lives, and also we just need to listen to them and also understand their behaviors very well. All right. So here at Herd, we also have, few programs that we do and run with elephant dunks as well. We use elephant dunks for some kind of seed disposal. When we found some areas where there's no grass, we know elephants eat grass, and there's a lot of seeds in the dung because they don't digest everything they eat. So we can use that dung, spray it over just to, disperse all the seeds within the dung, and that will become a food source to the other animals as well. And then you can also, use the dungs to, rehabilitate the areas that are completely damaged, so erosions and all the stuff like that. But it's all about mindset. What do you think you can do out of something that you think is just useless? It's just a dung. It's been ate and then it's gone. But look at these guys now. They came up with an idea of these gins, which is quite cool. And also, it's job creation. Most of people, they're going to get some jobs, look after their families, but that's from elephant dung. So it is very important that we should pay more attention when it comes to these animals and our environments, our biodiversity and stuff like that. So we are the people that needs to sit down and act towards it, to protect it, make sure that we do the right thing for its existence. So it's very, very important. But anyway, the head is a very, very interesting, structure of elephants that includes from the youngsters up to the adults. Most of these elephants here are orphaned elephants. Like now we are very happy and everybody is happy by having this little albino elephant by the name of Kanyisa. She brought joy to every one of us here. But the combination of these young elephants and the adults, the bulls and the females, it's amazing. The love that they have towards each other. They taught me so much, for if I look at their well-being and compare to the humans, it's like two different worlds, but otherwise one can learn to love, to trust and to respect just from the elephants. So these animals are quite amazing, but we are also grateful to the founder of Herd, which is Adin, the effort that she put to make sure that this whole thing is running smoothly, and so that more people can come and get involved. Everybody can have an opportunity, to meet these elephants, have some time with them as well at Herd. So yeah, when it comes to elephants, they do a lot of stuff. So here at Herd, we can also, provide you with some kind of elephants experience where you can sit in the vehicle, watch the elephants swim, elephants doing their own personal stuff, and then you just sit there, you relax, you watching them performing all those kind of behaviors. And then you can also have some moments where you can just get next to an elephant, feed them, take some pictures like these folks did yesterday. They met the elephants. They were really thrilled to meet the elephants. They loved it. They took pictures, and also they told us a lot of stories, about horses, elephants, So we chatted a lot about the whole thing. But at the end of the day, it just brings joy to everybody. It's a good thing to do something for a reason. Do it with heart. Do it with respect. So I really, appreciate what these guys come up with, which is a very good idea. All right, but from my side, there's not much to say, but otherwise, guys, we really love your support. Keep supporting whatever is happening out here, especially when it comes to animals. We really need your support to make sure that this whole thing carries on, and then who knows, somebody's going to come up with another idea that will be helpful. You never know. I never thought of a gin from elephant dung. I'm like, really?
I think most people have.
You know, but here we are. We're talking about it now. It's an achievement,
Yeah,
you know.
fantastic.
So yeah, it's fantastic. All right. From my side, I think yeah, keep loving elephants, support them, you know, just yeah, support them with whatever you can. Just be there for them. Thank you very much. We love you.
Thanks, Tiger. Tiger.
Yeah, some cocktails.
Well, I was just going to actually ask. I got some questions for Tiger because he spends so much time with the elephants, and I'm intrigued. So you, I mean, you follow the elephants very closely. When they're foraging each day, how far do the elephants wander around the reserve?
Yeah, we have actually a quite wide space where we operate. Approximately, I would say 7 to 8, 9,000 hectares among our area where we can just roam around with these animals. So the idea is to give them their natural habitat so they can perform their own natural behaviors.
Yeah.
So it's a very important thing to make sure that they're out in the bush, they walk, in wide area so that they don't get to damage all the trees within the area.
So not overgrazing one area.
Exactly. So the important part of it is because we are managing their movements, but we also need to make the balance of what they eat, and the area is also safe. So we rotate the areas all the time where we take them in daily basis. So the entire day they're out in the park so that they can be elephants. They can walk on the mud, they can swim, do whatever they want. But in the evenings we bring them back to these tables, for safety purposes, and also we have these youngsters like Kanyisa. She's also getting bottles overnight, so she can't be out, she can't be anywhere, rather be at her.
She still needs the feeding.
Yes. So that's most the reason why we bring the elephants back, just to make sure that they're protected, apart from the poachers and other stuff. And but yeah, you will see that they have the ability to make their own choices, apart from being with humans, but they are just being elephants.
Yeah.
So here at herd we put elephants first. Elephants are the most important things that we value first. Elephant health is also very important. To have a happy elephant, it needs to be health, and also you need to be transparent when it comes to them, how you treat them. For example, we have an elephant which is sick. You can't just wake that elephant or push it that you want to go, but otherwise pay attention. Does it need a doctor's attention or veterinary attention? So if it is so, then we can do it.
Yeah.
Bring the vet in, then he can take care of that elephant and look what's happening, and then so on. So it is very important that we value them the most than anything else.
Sure.
So that at the end of the day, they're just being happy animals.
And what are the social dynamics? So you talked about the new little baby of the park, and he's what are the social dynamics around her and the herd? How does the herd look after her in terms of the individual elephants?
Okay. Yeah. It's quite amazing, when it comes to this Jabulani herd social structure. The fact that they are all individuals, none of them is related except 5 of the young ones that were born within our environment. But otherwise, anybody else is just an individual elephant, came from different enterprises. But now, how do they look after each other? It's just amazing. It's an instinct that they develop over years, because they're in the process of forming their own natural structure. So you find out that we have some females that are really playing a major role when it comes to young stars. They are the ones that are taking care of the young stars, which is not quite common with the wild herd, because mostly they are like one solid herd. They don't really allow any strangers from another family or another herd. They will fight, chase them away. So an amazing thing with this herd is like there's always a room for an extra elephant. It doesn't matter where the elephant comes from. When it comes here, they're more like, okay, come on in, we have enough room for you, and they'll take care of that young elephant.
Share the love.
So yes, so I didn't notice the opportunity there. Like, well, okay, now if it happens with Jabulani, it can be happen with some of these young elephants that are becoming vulnerable due to human-elephant conflict. So she came up with an idea of building herd. Horse-breed elephant rehabilitation and development. So the main objective of the operation is to make sure that these young elephants they get a second chance.
Sure.
For example, we have a lot of poachers, poaching these animals. These young elephants are being abandoned by their mothers. They got disturbed and stuff like that. So she thought about it and said, okay, if I can build herd, which means I can accommodate more young elephants from outside that need help, because these herd here is already there taking care of them, because they've shown us, from the first time when they met Jabulani. You see, they shown us like they can do it. So
They
I
brought
didn't.
Jabulani up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't took that advantage and saw the opportunity to make sure that those youngsters out there needs help, they can get it whenever they need it.
Yeah.
So that's why she came up with an idea of building her.
Yeah, and it's absolutely amazing. And so going back to Kanisa, and you talked about how she still needs to be fed, so she's not old enough really just to browse on her own. How do you feed her, and how much does she eat? What does she eat at the moment?
All right. She needs a lot of attention, but that I can leave to Adine because she knows exactly how much she spent on her. My duty is to make sure that she's out here, she's happy. That's what I do. Okay, but what she feeds, she has to come up with an idea of all the formulas,
Right.
which is quite expensive.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And
So it's like baby formula milk.
yes, and also each formula works completely different from another young elephant. So for example, if you have 2 elephants, you can use 2 different formulas because one works different from another one.
Sure.
That's what makes it so difficult, because you have to work on specific elephants. So that's what Adine does, because she works on the formula, see what works best for that specific young elephant.
Okay.
So it's quite challenging because it brings you up to a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Lot of stuff, believe me. But you will see that she has every detail. And good part of it is because, she kept all the records. Every single young elephant comes here, we have a record for that specific elephant, what formula we used, on what age, at what time. So for example, Kanisa now receives her bottles, which is about, I would say, about 3 liters every 4 hours. Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But now at her age, she's starting to feed on her own.
Okay.
But that's when she really needs more milk, because she's getting bigger and bigger.
Okay. Yeah. So there's this. Yes. Sure.
Yes,
Okay.
she gets
so until she can start eating the vegetation. in that
100%
quantity,
on vegetation,
Yeah.
then the weaning process begins.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
she's growing big on the vegetation that she's eating, so it means she needs a bit more milk to
yes,
Okay.
to support that.
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then going back to the wild elephants, how much do they eat? You say what elephants the ones that we saw yesterday, they stand about 3.5 meters high. They weigh 4.5 tons. They're enormous animals. Gentle as, but huge animals. How much do they eat every day?
Well, simply elephants can eat about 5% of its body weight.
Okay, that's quite a lot.
That's quite a lot. For example, I'll give you an example for like Jabulani. He weighs about approximately 3 tons, which is 3,000 kilograms.
Yeah.
So if you work out 5% of 3,000, that brings you to 150 kilograms.
Wow.
So that's what he eats.
And that's just that, and that's just the plant's material. That's
Yes.
that's
So-
incredible.
Like they out from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock, for example, like now in summer.
Yeah.
So that's 12 hours. So if you work out 12 hours, divide by 2, which means you can consume about 75 kilograms throughout the day.
Right.
So which means we need to put more food in the stables, meaning another 75 to 80 kilograms within the stables.
Sure.
So that includes the supplements as well. The lucerne that we buy from the suppliers, we also feed them with. And then we have a piece of land where we grow the banana cut for them. And that's just to bring it up to, you know, to a point where they get enough food to eat throughout 24 hours. But otherwise, I would say, otherwise, I would say throughout the day, they eat a lot of stuff.
That's amazing. That's
But
an incredible
also
one.
they need supplements.
Sure.
So that's what we probably do, just to supplement them throughout the night.
Yeah.
So they get a lot of food. But when it comes to the stables now, you can't just put the food in one place. You know, we have your like 16 elephants there. There will be too much competition.
Sure.
So what you normally do, you can take a look who gets along with who's friend who, and then that's what you work on. You separate them when it comes to the
So
stables.
you work in the group dynamics to
Yes.
set that
Yes,
up.
and then just, you know, like for example, you have your Lundi and her son, which is Mambo, and then they like to be with Jabulani.
Yeah.
So you give
Bring
them
them to
Jabulani. They can be on their apartment, 3 of them. Then when you shuffle the food, you put the food into 3 major spots. So everybody eats equally.
Yeah.
So for example, if Jabulani gets greedy, he wants to eat the food by himself, he eats here and then he saw Mambo is eating there. He goes to Mambo. Then Mambo is going to be like, okay, I'm going to leave you alone. Then he goes back where Jabulani was eating.
Yeah.
So they keep on rotating. But at the end of the day, everybody eats equally.
So that's a bit like we're discussing horses, and that's like the horses when we feed them.
Yes.
So plenty of dung then from the elephants if they eat so much. We're not going to run
we're
out.
not going
That's
to run out.
definitely. I mean, you come early in the morning in the stables, you will see there tons and tons of dungs there. But we also have a team which works very much like 7 days a week to make sure that the stables are clean, well washed, and then add fresh water on a daily basis. And yeah, there was a time we used to, you know, feed the elephants with the pumpkins. You know, there was a guy who donated the pumpkins. Then we decided to feed them with the pumpkins. But anyway, when it comes to summer and then the rain came, you know, there were a lot of pumpkins in the reserve. Like, you know, everybody was like,
seed dispersal.
it's dispersal. You see, so it was like, oh no.
This isn't going to work. Yeah.
If I didn't ask me, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm like, no, it's not me, you know, because we're not planting pumpkins in the reserve.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what they do, and then you know, you have some other animals come to feed on those plants as well as time goes. So yeah, they're lovely animals.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and it's been a wonderful meeting you and chatting
So
to you.
informative. We learned so much.
So thank you very much. I mean, we're really proud being part of this. We're proud of you guys coming up with such an amazing idea. You know, yeah, I would like to say keep on thinking, come up with another idea sometime. All right. Thank you very much, folks. Keep well.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Okay, so thank you very much to Tiger, and we're going to end this really off. We're going to make a cocktail from the gin. So this is a cocktail that we call Elephant in the Room, and it's quite a nice way to build a drink. So you start getting an idea of the complexities of perhaps a cocktail is just not a whole lot of things thrown together, but they need to complement each other. So in this instance, we're going to have 2 shots of Indlovu Gin, and it's got a grassy, earthy type smell, not quite sweet, but it is on that, moving towards that. So before I made gin, I used to really enjoy whiskies, and I was a big whiskey drinker. And when we're speaking to Johan, sorry, when not Johan at all, when we're speaking about making the gin with Roger, I said to him I would really like a gin that I can enjoy like a whiskey. So I'd like to have a gin that I can enjoy neat. And so that's what we've worked very hard to make, so that if you wanted to, you can just enjoy this gin perhaps in winter on rocks. So we have the gin there, and now what I'm going to do here is reach over. I'm going to add some coffee beans to this gin. So I'm just going to take 3 or 4 coffee beans. Now coffee beans have quite a fibrous shell, so it takes a little bit longer for the alcohol to draw the flavor of the coffee into the cocktail. So we just need to release that flavor so we can swill it, and you can actually already start smelling that infusion of the coffee into that gin, and it creates a depth to both the aroma and also the subsequent taste of the gin cocktail. Now you can it's suddenly releases it very nicely there. So very, very nice. So we've got the coffee flavor there. We're going to add a little bit of Cointreau. So now we're starting to get the flavors. So Cointreau is orange based, of course. And so now we start thinking coffee, dark chocolate, orange. So that's the sort of flavor profile that we're approaching at the moment. So again, we give it a nice little. Now you can start smelling a little bit of those oranges being released. And to enhance that slightly, we're going to take some zest, orange zest here, which I have. There we go. And we're going to add this into the gin. And now this will bring out that flavor even further. There we go. So while we let that infuse into the gin, there we go. So while we let that infuse into the gin, I'm just going to go back a little bit to our story with or the partnership really between Indlovu Gin and JabuGin. Is when we picture it, we see this amazing little circle happening where we've got the elephants, and the elephants produce the dung, and we collect the dung, and we make the gin, and we sell the gin, and then we make some money from the gin, and we give it back to the elephants, who then produce the dung to make the gin. And so we start having a little bit of a circle of circular relationship happening between ourselves and the elephants. And I think it's a wonderful perhaps analogy of what can happen between commercial enterprises and conservation, is that you get this wonderful synergy happening. Okay, so now you've got that strong citrus smell coming in, and it's actually, as you smell it, you can feel the back of your taste buds with that. So there we have the orange, and just to add a little bit, we're going to add a splash of fresh orange. And to top it all off, of course, no summer cocktail around a waterhole, or no gin and tonic around a waterhole is quite complete without the tonic. There we go. To add a few ice cubes. And then finally, we have some speckboom here. So this is speckboom, it's also known as pork bush. And we have a little bit of garnish there. And the speckboom it's self-edible. It's an amazing plant. It's depending on when you pick it during the day, it tastes sour or bitter. and it also is a very good plant for taking in carbon dioxide and then releasing the oxygen. And there we have our elephant in the room. Cheers. Now we just have to wait for the elephants. There we go.
Beautiful sunset. So we just take a moment to enjoy this beautiful sunset, and the elephants will join us soon. But we're all very fortunate to have Les and Paula with us, and you're buying into what we believe in. I only see some giraffe coming up there. Yeah, we haven't investigated giraffe gin yet. So I don't know if there's any questions for Paula and Les that you'd like to, to ask, and they can answer it while we wait for the elephants. Oh, such a beautiful night.
So we get asked this quite often. We made elephant dung gin. Are there other animals perhaps that we could do this with? And the answer is really no. The elephants are unique in their digestion and their poor absorption, and their hindgut fermenters as well. So it means that they only have one stomach, and they have a very quick gut transit time, very low gut bacteria. You could use rhino. The difference between elephant and rhino is that rhinos use midden heaps, and they're territorial around those midden heaps. And as much as I enjoy making gin, you know what, I'm not going to fight a rhino for his dung. And so we decided that discretion was the better part of valor in that respect, and we're going to stick with the elephant dung for the moment.
There's some questions that came up, and people were asking where can they get the gin.
So so JabuGin, of course, is available at Jabulani, and there we go. The Indlovu Gin you can get online at various Takealot and Macro, etc. If you go onto the website ibu.co.za, we have a list of all the distributors throughout the country where you'll be able to buy.
And then also in the USA, a lot of people would like to know if it's available in the USA.
So we're very excited. We've just sent our first shipment across to the United States. And again, on our website, there's the distributor's contact details. Alternatively, you're more than welcome to contact me, and I will point you to your nearest outlet. We also have it in Japan. It's in Europe as well, and so hopefully we'll be able to get it to you wherever you are in the world.
Okay, that's amazing.
In terms of making the gin, which is quite a lot of people find very interesting as well, is so that we make the base gin that we make for our Indlovu Gin, and also then for the JabuGin, is really a traditional London dry gin, and you have the juniper berry and the angelica root and the orris root and the angelica, and interestingly, so the definition of a gin is very loose in terms of when they define it. In South Africa, a gin needs to be juniper led on the nose and the palate, and beyond that, there's no real definition of gin. And so we have a juniper led London dry gin, traditional London dry, and then we infuse the elephant dung, and so then that's what we, once we have the base gin, then we can infuse the botanicals into that. And the wonderful thing about the unique thing about our gin, of course, is that the taste will differ slightly depending on the season in which the dung is collected, because the botanicals available or the foods available to the elephant are different, and of course the geographical location from where we collect the dung is going to offer different foods to elephants, and so you'll get subtle changes or vintages, I guess, of the gin depending on where the dung is collected.
And then also what people would like to know, what did you enjoy the most of your stay at Jabulani?
Oh wow! Well, the elephants were meeting the elephants was the highlight. I would have to say.
You know, I was so struck by the decor as well. And both of us had the word that came to our minds at the same time. And it was like, you said to me, you know what, this is about textures. And I was thinking exactly the same thing. This is all textures. When you see accommodation where you dine, I mean, it is absolutely exquisite. So, hand on heart, that side. Come visit. It's amazing. You will not you'll learn so much. It's a very warm place. The elephants are amazing. They're
And when
best
you
hands.
and meeting the Ellies that you followed on the various social media and the like, and then actually getting to meet them, and they're the most gentle, amazing creatures. Paula even got a
kiss.
Paula got a kiss. So yes, no, it's been a wonderful stay here.
I mean, everywhere you look, there are creatures. So at night, there's the flying beetles, or in the water where you're dining, there's terrapins and catfish. Is always it's
alive,
bustling with life. It really is, and the sound at night is, ear-piercing is the wrong word, but it's resonant. It's absolutely amazing.
It's the sound of Africa.
Yeah,
it
really is. So yes.
So Paula, Les, the chefs at Jabulani found a lot of inspiration with your gin. So they created a little cupcake. It's an orange gin infused cupcake with espresso mousse, and then also it's got Zanji made a lollipop of your orange gin. So we'd like for you to have one. So you can see there's other possibilities for your gin as well.
These.
Because it's all made out of your homemade gins.
The world's first elephant dung gin lollipop. What could be more super? Wow.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that's very nice.
So we'll definitely, so everybody can just check our website. We'll definitely have the recipe up soon.
Cool.
And everybody can enjoy it.
Well, thank
You will.
thank the
you very
chefs.
much.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
was this Alex? I'll thank him very much more.
I don't think
Zandri and Alex, yes.
And bottoms up.
Where do you make the elephant dung gin?
So we're based.
Not personally.
So we're based down in the Cape, in the Western Cape, in the Winelands, and so we make the gin down there.
Okay.
The elephant dung is made elsewhere.
Sorry, that's now a communication error, right?
No, this is lovely.
Absolutely. Lovely. I must say the food at Jabulani is exquisite as well. I think the attention to detail here. It really is. You feel part of the family as soon as you walk through the doors. Or actually, as soon as you get off the plane.
Okay, I'm just checking if there's any more questions that people are sending through. And it seems we've got the family joining us. Two types of families, though. Okay, so one of the questions that people also just ask is, what else can you use dung for? So there's actually a variety of things that you can, use dung for, and that's kind of what we're also getting up now, is how to utilize all these byproducts of the elephants. And making soap, for example. So we will start introducing the little soap that the community and the ladies that we're teaching are making, and introducing that also in the room as an amenity.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. And then we also use that a lot in our erosion areas to fill up areas where there's no grass growing. I think Tiger touched base on that, just to get the seeds distributed along that lines.
I know in the traditional African medicine they use elephant dung as pain relief and sinus for clearing sinuses as well. In the smelling of the burning elephant dung.
Yes.
So it's up in Zimbabwe, is it Zimbabwe? They in childbirth they brew it as
pain relief.
Pain relief.
brew it as a tea for a pain relief in childbirth as well.
I also heard the pain relief.
Yeah.
If you think of all the beautiful plants, it's almost like there's a huge apothecary that the elephants are collecting. So a lot of our products, aspirin comes from the bark of a tree. So if we think of it like that, they really are collecting all this amazing material that could have medicinal health properties as well.
Yeah, and very naturally,
Yeah, very natural.
without going to get it fabricated into a little tablet.
Yeah, straight down. And probably the elephants know best. Aha.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh no.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. We hope to see you soon at Jabulani, and have a great festive season and be safe, and hopefully 2022 we can see all of you back here at Jabulani. Have a great one.